Hey yo, this is Rob Stallone, and you're listening to what's the name of it? The Extreme Movie Show. Um, I've got this guy from the Midwest who claims he's like some sort of superhero or super bad guy, RDV. Get away from that, Stallone. Hello, everybody. This is Rob, host here of the Extreme Movie Show. Tonight, of course, we're talking about Samaritan with Sylvester Stallone and RDV. I got to tell you, from the great Midwest, you've seen a lot of nice things because there's actually nice people in flyover country. I personally will attest to that. So when I was looking to see Samaritan, I was really hopped up on the idea of seeing Stallone in a comic book film, which, for the record, no secret to anybody who listens to us, I'm not really the biggest fan of them for my own reasons, but I still like to try to enjoy them, and I try to give them a fair shot. Samaritan is a mixed bag to me. There's some really solid elements in it and things I like. Overall, I would file this movie under major disappointment, but I wasn't pissed at it. But it's very obvious. It's very formulaic. It's a bit of a letdown to me, and it's not really twisty or surprising or anything to it. That being said, there's some really strong things about it I do like that I definitely want to talk about with you here tonight. So, like I said, for me, it's really a mixed bag of a film. I do think it's better than some of the other crap that's out there today. That's even the big budget films and all that. But it's frustrating for me because I look at this film and I go, man, if they did it like this or just tweaked it, I just feel like it could have been so much better. But I'm interested to hear what your initial take on this film is.
Hey yo, I'm the bad guy. What's up,
Okay, Jaco.
man? R.I.P. Razor Ramon. We missed. This yeah. I was watching through this movie today. I can see kind of why Rob is what this was not what you're expecting, because this wasn't what I was expecting either. Um, Obviously Stallone's like when he's like 70, pushing 80 now.
Yeah, 75, 76 for this film. Mm-hmm.
I kind of figured, this was going to be a slower paced movie, and it was.
Yeah.
He meets this kid and all, and this kid basically becomes like he's a loner. He just minds his own business. This kid wants him, of course, it's basically your classic your 80s. We're not I won't say 80s, but 90s trope where the guy is reclusive and then the kid comes along. And he's like, oh, I want you to wait, you're the Samaritan, and the guy and Stallone's like, yeah, sure, whatever, or just go away, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so eventually the kid gets into trouble, and he's, basically this is your whole point of the movie. The kid gets into trouble. Stallone is basically forced, guilt tripped into basically going to save this kid. And it's been 25 years since the Samaritan disappeared.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, if everybody thinks he's dead. So, now, I'll say this, though. The ending did have a plot twist for me because I did not see that coming.
No, come on. Are you serious, bro?
I did not see that coming when he reveals who he is. No, I did actually no. Let's see. I was watching this, man. I did not see that, and I said I don't want to spoil for people, but I actually looked at this movie and I thought it back after we're done watching it. It did have good action scenes towards the end. The end is like the best part of the best, like the 20 minutes, But leading up to that, before that, it's more like a Rocky movie, a drama. It's like Creed.
It's interesting that you say that because to me, I thought there was a couple of scenes that were shot really well, and not all of them were action. And I'm going to point a few of them out here too, because the disappointment for me was the ending, not the quote unquote spoiler, but the CGI crap fest it was in the with the fire and everything at the end. But let's just start with I think what the elephant in the room here before we start bouncing around here a bit. I think a lot of people watching this film are really going to sit there and go, "Oh, I'm watching Bane Light." I mean, I did not have a problem with a really basic generic setup of Granite City and all that too. It's not really what the movie's about. And for me, my complaint about this film, that why it was disappointing, was that when we started watching a movie that we both loved called Brightburn, it was R-rated and had a certain theme, and it stuck with it, and it honored the direction it was going in. Here, you get parts of the movie, and to me, the best parts are when Stallone's with the kid, no matter what's happening, whether it's action or not or what. I think that's phenomenal, and it shows that when he's got somebody to work with like that with Stallone, it's great. The other scenes there, too, that they kind of tease you a little bit, don't always meld. It's like they present them, and you're like, well, are they going to go down this path, or are they going to go down that path, or are we going to get a combination of things? and it just kind of doesn't work. Like for example, the young kid, there was a scene or two in there that almost was supposed to, I guess, be comedy, but I'm like, they show him being a kid that's not, I don't want to say bullied like the way we think of bullying today, the upper crust white kid getting bullied kind of crap thing. This is a kid in the streets in the ghetto that getting his ass beat down by street thugs and stuff. And so there's supposedly a shocking scene here too involving Stallone with the same street gang that kind of ties these two together. That I'm like, man, if they kept it dark like that or focused a little bit on like the thug culture or this kid actually working for one person doing jobs and working for another, but it just doesn't go very deep. And that's what's disappointing about it, because I thought, here you've got Stallone and he works so good with this kid. It's like, pick one direction you want to go into, dive in it deep, and then let's see what happens. Because to me, the biggest regret is that this movie should have been R and should have been one note darker tone that it hints at. You know what I mean?
It felt like they were trying to make it into a TV friendly movie, like a I want to say Nickelodeon or kid or Disney movie, but it felt like the '90s kids movies, where this is a guy, he just wants to be left alone, and then there's a kid gets involved. I love the interaction between Stallone and the kid. The kid is what's his name here?
Almost whiny ass, I believe.
Javon Walton. He's from he was in the reason I recognize the kid because he was actually in Umbrella Academy season 3.
No,
he's actually been in something else other than this, but the kid was a punk in that too as well. But
we don't have good punks these days. We have twerps. We don't have punks.
my problem was the cast. The cast was just like Stallone and like just a bunch of nobodies. I'm thinking like, who is the main bad guy here? The guy who's gonna hold the hammer. He's gonna beat him up. Stallone at the end. He wants to kill him. He's like, he's back. Let's kill him. I'm thinking like, at first I thought it was a very young like Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, he looks like that, and he has a pretty good jacket on, and I don't know if he has the turtleneck, because that instant combo makes you a villain in any movie. But he had there were some interesting things in here, like when he meets the kid at one point, and you see the thug guy that beats him up, but then they both get brought back to him, and he's like the ringleader, and he basically just sees a little bit of smartness in his kid, untapped potential, rather than the dirtbag punk ass thug, 619 little 80-pound version. He's like, okay, here's the $20 that you were supposed to get, and here's $100 for something you're going to do for me in the future. And the way he did, I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Maybe he's the bad guy, maybe he's not, maybe he's a street thug, maybe he's not. But the fact that this kid was working on both sides of it, I thought was an interesting way to go, because it's like, well, do you do the right thing?
Yeah,
do the wrong
the
thing?
movie did have its faults. Like I said, it became off too much heavily with Stallone and the kid. I mean, I love them together, but I just wondered, like 20 minutes into this, like, where is this going? Is this gonna get, are we gonna get further to the plot? The bad guys were weak.
Totally.
Oh my gosh.
But they had the
why
gang
did we have Vinny Jones? I would have had Vinny Jones at the end or something like that, being like, because I understand the whole twist. These are supposed to be like, because they're supposed to be like, pushover punks that you just let go and go on. It's like, it just felt like I would have had another plot twist, because I'm not gonna say what it is with the first plot twist, but I would have had another one revealing like someone actually knows who Joe is and wants revenge because he's the person that Joe killed. Right. I want something like that at the end, twist at the end, where he's like, oh fuck, and then he'll get somebody actually like him, because it just, like I said, it felt like I'm watching '90s Disney, Star Kid.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem, like the gang, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few scenes in there where the kid kind of gets introduced to some of them, and the chick who you figure is the one he's banging, because she looks like she's of age and all that too, and has got some stuff there. She didn't look authentically evil or bad or rough, or like the years have gotten to her sort of thing. The street years have aged her like a dog. Wasn't like that at all, but I thought, okay, there's some sort of weird kind of, maternal but not maternal thing, sort of whatever. And I thought, they don't even explore that, and it's disappointing, because like the mom, you go, is it a hot mom? Probably not, but she's fiery. Of course, it's single mom syndrome, and so we don't even see her for most of the film except for when it's convenient for her to pop out. And, so the whole movie honestly revolves around saying, I want to see it because of Stallone. And to me, there was nothing more terrifying in this movie than seeing Stallone around in a hoodie. Because if I saw an old guy like that walking around on the bus or in the grocery store with that hoodie on, I'd
Yeah,
just walk down the next aisle. I'd stay away from this guy.
yeah,
Stallone just proves again, here in his mid to late 70s, that he can still bring it. And unfortunately, with the action scenes, there's a few scenes that were pretty neat. The one scene where it's confirmed that he's a superhero, supervillain, whatever. He's not like us. Is when the kid's getting his ass beat or whatever, and he kind of stops the kids, toss them around. You're like, yeah, okay, and that looked kind of but they didn't overdo it, which is good. But it's when the kid's on the ground and he sits up and he's looking at Stallone in the streets, and out of nowhere, and this is what they did good, a car just fucking collides him, and oh shit, I didn't see that kind of coming scene or
yeah,
whatever like that. I'm like, and Stallone's like, all bent like Ace Ventura landing on the playing ground, and then he's twisting him out, and he says, yeah, I get really really hot, and I get really hot, and that's why I gotta eat a lot of ice cream to cool my poor temp. So it's like, where is this going? And then here's where I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to point out a point that you mentioned earlier that I think could have been another interesting twist. You mentioned how when those two got together, that it's kind of like one of those old tropes where, like, in the 80s or not,
yeah.
like Apt Pupil comes to mind, the great
Did I
Let Him
freeze?
Know on His Secrets.
Okay.
So for me, there was a scene here where he's talking to him where I go, is Stallone really trying to help this kid out, being a mentor, or is he just trying to play along nice with the kid so the kid will forget about him and shut up? And it could have been where he felt like he was forced to do it because of this accident. And I thought that would have been an interesting dynamic if they went down there a little bit further. But instead, they just have the one scene, and that's kind of it. So it's like I said, there's a lot of interesting things presented that just don't get explored. It's tough. I That's what made it frustrating for me, because Stallone's okay in it, but there's some scenes in here where it goes slow, like you say, it's deliberate. Um, and then at the end, it feels like it's rushed a little bit, because the whole idea is that gangbanger out there with his group of posse is going to try to throw the city into anarchy to kind of make the Samaritan guy come out of hiding or whatever like that, so they can have their epic last battle like gods, if you will. And then, of course, you have the big fight finale at the end. But to your point with the action, I liked how there wasn't a lot of it. I didn't care for a lot of it at the end with the guns and everything else. But the way it was filmed, there is a scene in there where there's this constant camera angle where it's going up the boss level, like you and I've talked about. Stallone's there in the middle and he's taking fire, and then there's a pause and a beat. Then he starts working his way up the stairs, and the camera's on him. And that's a nice sequence. The CGI fire at the end, so I like how they
Yeah,
didn't overdo it. You know what I mean?
but yeah. Like I said, when I see the hammers, I'm going back to Cobra. You know, the factory scene and like that. Like I liked how they showed a younger version of his face on the digital thing. I was like,
Ooh, did you?
it's Rambo.
I did not like that. That looked horrible to me.
It
That
looked all
was a
right.
negative for me. I no, it just I think they did it just so the audience would make sure
They
that you would
understand.
know what character it is,
Yeah,
but it looked bad.
it was all right.
Not as bad as the CGI fire, but bad. No, but from my understanding, and you may have some info on this that would be interesting to explore here. My understanding is this is based off of a graphic novel of some kind.
Through Mythos Comics, I've never heard of this book before, The Samaritan, but I was looking at this movie. Apparently, it was a Samuel L. Jackson movie called The Samaritan. Different movie, probably better than this. This movie is not doing so hot. I mean, it's got its flaws, and people are speaking out about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still an enjoyable movie, but it's not horrible. It's not. Could be a whole lot worse. But that being said, this movie could have been a whole lot better. I mean, I'd probably give it an average 3 out of 5. You know.
Yeah, I think for me that as I'm getting chided here in the comments about watching a film, this, some people may choose to look at it as a superhero, supervillain film, a comic book film, whatever you want to call it. I'm only watching it because Stallone's in it, and I
Exactly.
still say that one of the best movies I've seen that has anybody in it going back to '98 is Blade with Snipes, the first one. I think that movie is tremendous. I think it's a great action flick. I think it, it's R-rated. I think it portrays how these Marvel and DC type movies should be made, or anything that's like it today. And I think it's a joke how wimpy a lot of these are. But again, the audience for most of them is kids and family features, and I get that. But you and I have talked a lot about all the movies that are out there today, and just, a lot of people like them. But I thought Wonder Woman was horrible. A lot of them that are out there, I just don't think are very good. Prey was passable, but it looked really, really good. A lot of people are thinking that's a great action film. So I got to understand that what you and I would look at for what we call an action film
Now,
based out of
an
the
action,
80s
yeah.
standard is different than what is out there
What
today.
I'd say the closest to me being like a movie I like with Stallone is Demolition Man. He doesn't have superpowers, but
that was fun.
That's fun action powers. Wesley Snipes playing the bad guy and everything else. That's the kind of movie that Stallone strives in.
Yes.
This is like Creed with like Disney-fied, like, we're gonna make you a superhero. We're gonna throw this annoying little kid in here that won't leave you alone. And then like it's like, because he's older, it's a slow pace. But I mean, I'm thinking like, what is Expendables going to be like? I'm just going to fly the plane, guys. You do all the work. We can't, sir. We threw our backs out in the last two movies.
Stop it. That's kind of funny, though. No, let me say this about Stallone when Samaritan came out. So when we had talked about movies over the summer that might be upcoming, we talked about Samaritan briefly about, hey, it looks like Stallone's going to star in a comic book type film,
Yeah.
which it's Stallone. It's something new. He's older, so he's going down that road that he's been on for quite some time. Where anything he does, we're going to see, and we're going to probably end up reviewing it. He's got a TV show that he's going to be starring in, Tulsa Kings, I think is the name of it. No, but that would be best. That'd be cool if he did. I'd love to see him and Shatner together. Hey, yo, why'd you give me a ticket?
Shatner pulls up. He's 91 years old.
Shatner's not going to die. I want his energy at 70. But I don't know if this might have tempered my expectations, or because when the movie came out and everybody knew when it came out, things break, and the way social media is today, these things happen. So Stallone obviously had married a supermodel that he had met when she was like 19 or 20. They were together for a few years. They didn't take it further. They reconciled a little bit later, married Jennifer Flavin, and they've been together a long time. He's got beautiful daughters. They've been together, I don't know, 20 years, let's say, whatever it's been, 25 maybe. But apparently there's some issues, and the day this movie came out, or pretty close to it, all of a sudden, whether it's coincidence or not, which I don't believe in coincidences, it comes out that it looks like she filed for divorce. And
what?
the reason why that people like to say, because they're trying to shit on Stallone, and the thing is you never really know what's going on in people's bedrooms and personal life and all that. So I think people aren't really killing Stallone yet, but Stallone obviously has had some injuries. He's gotten tattoos over the years. On his, I think it's his right shoulder, he had a picture of her, and it's colored, and he's, has a tattoo artist and all that. So apparently Stallone's people came out with an explanation that does not make sense, because allegedly he posted on Instagram or something about how Butkus, the dog in Rocky that we talked about with Cuff Link, the turtles and all that, when we did our quiz and we reviewed the Rocky movies, that was like his real life dog, and he was very close to it. So I guess he got another dog like Butkus, and I guess he had a little clip saying like, "Hey, you're just the most special thing to me in my life," and that kind of stuff. And so it's like, well, that's just the last straw. She had enough. She filed for divorce. And if you look at a shoulder, do you know what you see now? You don't see her picture. You see a new ink, which is a picture of the fucking dog's face. I mean, that's ghost status right there.
I wonder that, because he just got that dog.
His wife and puts the tattoo of his dog on his shoulder over his wife. I mean, come on. He's a goat in my book for that.
I don't know. His daughters seem to love him. He's never seen. We don't know what he's like off camera, but I mean, his daughters will be siding with him.
Well, you never know how these things go, and so the point is with this movie, how is it related to what this movie is? A lot of times, all this stuff comes out where it's to shit on somebody. Obviously, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard have been in media lately. is it fair? I don't know that it is or it isn't, but it is what it is. And to your point, this movie's kind of getting the treatment because, like I say, it's a very safe movie, and that's what's wrong with
Who
it.
knows? Maybe she cheated on him, and she's upset that he found out.
Again, you never know, and it's
Yeah,
not always one person. It can be the other. She's 50
exactly.
now.
Yep.
Things change when you get older on both sides. So they've, by Hollywood standards, had a very long and fruitful relationship with each other, and they've always seemed like a happy couple. I may know a person or two that have interfaced with them socially in some events and said they were very warm as a couple and very friendly. Take that for what it is, but people know how to play the PR game, and certainly Stallone does as well. But you know what? Stallone's at the age where he does what he wants to do. I respect him for it. So I'm really interested.
Yeah, the
Hopefully,
kid's
over the next
76 years old. She's
Yeah.
probably upset because she thinks that she's going to get a lot of money when he dies. Maybe.
Well, I'm not really going to speculate so
We don't
much.
know.
Is what Stallone is going to produce here as we're finishing up at the end of his career. I'm interested in watching. So if he decides, hey, I liked my experience doing Samaritan, maybe I'll do something else like it. Maybe I'll be the bad guy in a film, and it's just a cameo kind of thing. I don't know. But he always has ideas. He's always working on stuff. And for him to do this Tulsa Kings or whatever it is and other stuff, I'll go watch all of it. I think it's good.
I'm just picturing Rob now getting the dog tattoo on his shoulder.
I don't. I've never seen some people I've never seen Stallone lose it when you watch his Instagram and other things too. He seems like he generally loves life and that he's in the moment.
Well, we don't know.
He's a creative guy. He
could be having issues as far as forgetting things and stuff like that. He's getting older, so we don't know what's going on.
Speculating. Again, it's
Either way, though, we're here to talk about this movie, and this movie. I hate using the word dud because dud implies it's crap. You shouldn't watch it. Don't waste your time. I still implore that no matter what we say, you watch the movies that we talk about on your own and form your own opinion. I didn't hate this, but I admit that it was flawed. It could have been a lot better. Like I said, it's an average movie. This is basically a TV-friendly movie.
Yeah, I wanted to like it a lot more than I did because I pretty much agree with that sentiment. Like I said, there's definitely some bright spots in it, and I think by today's standards, it's an okay movie. Now, today's standards to me is much lower than it was even 20 years ago. So take that for what it is. So am I crapping on stuff? Not directly yet, but it's man, Stallone's doing something that's coming out, and
you can tell that his age is catching up to him. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
and it's sad because this movie should have been a much more physically active movie, but Stallone, I don't know, he probably can't do as much. But I think the biggest flaw was the villains. I would say we have nobody villains, but these villains felt like your 20 young bucks are like, what's up, bro? And like just like it just felt so out of place for them. They're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like literally they would have been, if this would have been like, a younger version of Stallone, you would have had a much more awesome bad guy. But I feel like they probably decided that we're going to make this kid friendly. We can't have it's too scary.
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, bring somebody else in, make it cool. Like, make Drago the bad guy.
Here's the final thing I'll mention. With my final thoughts, like I just got through basically saying I'm disappointed. It's worth a watch, especially if you're still
the DVD movie. That's what we call this.
Yeah, but there is a cool scene in here I forgot to mention earlier, but we talked about how there's not a lot of action, and some of it's good, some of it maybe not. But there's a scene where Stallone's end up going down an alley and bad guys are chasing him, and he basically has to save somebody. And he grabs her, and the way he kind of jumps over this car in one motion and tips it over and protects her, that was a nice little shot. That was kind of cool because it's not overdoing, oh, I can throw somebody 100 yards, no sweat sort of thing too. It's like, okay, that's kind of neat. So yeah, there's some things there where I go, I don't know who the director was, but maybe it might be worth noting that later on, if this person gets a chance at something else like it, maybe they grow from it. And that's another part of the movies that we don't really talk about a lot as the writing and directing, because frankly, we don't watch a movie to say who's the writer, who's the director. But yeah, I hate to use Pixel's term, but it's mid.
It is mid. And I've actually been doing what I do with comic book. I look at who is creating it. now. And I know this movie's out. I see Stallone's in it, and I did not look to see who was writing it and stuff. But Biz Balboa's Productions was also helping co-produce this, so it means he didn't have full control of the story. I guarantee it. So and he's got to adapt it. They're trying to adapt the comic book. If this would have been like Stallone doing a superhero movie without adapting to anything, dude, it would have been much more violent. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so looking ahead, as we start rounding into September, getting in October, we're going to be, of course, continue our same schedule. We're going to try to maybe introduce a few more additional things, especially as people request them. Obviously, there's a take on here from Johnny RDV, something you and I have talked about for years. Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man.
Never watched it.
It's an interesting one. I will say this: it has been decided that on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be watching a movie from 1983, Natalie Wood's last film, Brainstorm. It's got Christopher Walken. I know. I used to say Brain Scan because there's Brainstorm and there's Brain Scan with Edward Furlong in the 90s, but let's not go there yet. That's on a night when we're feeling pain. Brainstorm with Natalie Wood's last movie. The older listeners know about Natalie Wood and
Christopher Walken,
who may potentially have been involved in her murder or drowning. Whatever you want to call it. This movie almost didn't come out, but this movie is a legitimate science fiction movie. It's very, very slow. It's what a science fiction movie should be. I'll say that right now as a head. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'll just spoil it right here now for you. But I'm really looking forward to talking about this because RD and I have not talked about it. I'm like, wow, a movie that I tried to tell everybody there was science fiction films occasionally, and here's one of them. And it's got Natalie Wood. How could you not watch it?
When I suggested this, I'd forgotten that there was the whole her death, was with these characters with him, Christopher Walken. I think it was Marlon Brando was the other one.
For what?
Her death. She drowned. She was because
Robert Wagner.
Oh, Robert Wagner. That's the other guy. Okay.
Who's
I remember looking
audiences.
I remember looking up
films.
Yeah, Natalie Wood a long time ago because people were saying, "Oh, Natalie Wood is a great actress," and I looked at her. And then I remember reading that in the Wikipedia. They thought she died suspiciously, and there was kind of like a love triangle thing going there. Rumor.
And you don't know if it really shows on the movie or not, but it's in Christopher Walken's younger days are getting into film.
Yeah, dude, he looks. I mean, I've seen him in the James Bond movie,
Yep.
But I mean, this is younger than that. I'd say, right around there. But
yeah, her husband, I think this is the second time, around because it's like that old heart-to-heart intro. And when they met, it was murder, with Stephanie Powers and all that. That was a show that was on that was pretty, I think it was ABC maybe. But yeah, we'll be talking about that on Sunday, 7 p.m. to give you guys an advanced chance to take a look at it between now and then. So you may have some thoughts that we can discuss together here in chat. That'd be kind of cool. We'll be taking some cues from some of you guys too, as far as any horror submissions. They don't necessarily have to be American films; they can be overseas. Because I think RDV and I are going to do a couple of ones that we have a tendency to like, and I think Professor Pixel and I will be doing some because he's wanting to do some more classic ones. And being younger, there's a lot of ones he's like, well, what about this or what about that? And some of them are the weird European ones that unless you're really into horror films, you're gonna be like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So it'll be interesting as we get closer to October how these things are going to play out too. But
maybe we'll just watch bad German horror movies.
Is there such a thing?
I don't know. There's got to be a niche for that though. People are like, you know what? We've seen all the American ones. Let's see all the European ones.
Well, there's Italian, there's German, there's Spanish. There's a lot. So it's really exciting. And you know what you're going to get, hopefully. All right, guys, there you have it. Samaritan with Stallone, mid-movie. Check it out. Let us know what you think. I'd like to thank RDB, of course, from the Great Midwest, because he's such a nice, polite guy, like he always is, for showing up and giving me his 2 cents on it.
I do all right.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank Kiefer Sutherland for correcting me in chat.
And I, as I explained in the chat, I got teased by you and Ease when I would say Kiefer or Kiefer.
It maybe Kiefer. It was never Theismann. It was Thiesman, but Joe Theismann said Theismann for Heisman back when he was at Notre Dame. So
I've always said Kiefer, but I changed Kiefer because I got chastised last time I was on this channel, and I said Kiefer.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a good night. And as always, stay extreme.